Is my wife cheating on me with her boss? I don't have proof, but I can feel it in my gut. What should I do? I've been married to my wife for just over a year now. She's 31, and I'm 29. Marriage is supposed to be about trust, right? At least, that's what everyone says. But lately, I can't shake this sinking feeling. It's like a weight in my chest, growing heavier every time she mentions her job, or rather, doesn't mention it. And the reason is simple: John. Her boss. It started innocently enough. She came home from her first week at work and mentioned him casually. "You know, John and I have the same birthday. Isn't that funny?" she said, smiling in a way I hadn't seen in a while. It wasn't just the words, it was the way she lit up when she talked about him. I remember brushing it off at the time, chalking it up to excitement about her new job. But then, over the weeks, she started talking about him a little too much. She mentioned how tall he is, how they get along so well, and how he's funny. And then one day, she said she was going to buy him a birthday gift. That stopped me in my tracks. "A gift? For your boss?" I asked her, trying to sound casual but feeling my chest tighten. "Yeah, just something small. It's no big deal," she replied, waving it off. But it didn't sit right with me. Since when do you buy gifts for coworkers you just met? Especially one you talk about like that? It's not like I've never been jealous before, I'm human. But this felt different. It wasn't just the gift, it was everything. It was how she smiled when she talked about him, how her voice softened when she mentioned his name. It was the way she seemed to prioritize their conversations, even when she didn't realize she was doing it. And then, suddenly, she stopped talking about him altogether. At first, I thought maybe she'd listened to me, picked up on my discomfort. But when I brought him up casually one evening, she said, "Oh, John has a girlfriend now." Something about the way she said it felt off, rehearsed, like she'd been waiting for me to ask. Why did it matter if he had a girlfriend? Was she trying to make me think he wasn't a threat? Or was she covering something up? Things started to add up in ways I couldn't ignore. Like how she suddenly seemed happier when she left for work, even if we'd been arguing just minutes before. There was one day in particular that still eats at me. We'd had a fight that morning, nothing major, but enough that she said some pretty cruel things to me. She stormed out the door, leaving me to stew in my frustration. But then, barely an hour into her shift, she texted me an apology. It was sweet, overly sweet. "I'm sorry, babe. I shouldn't have said that. I love you," she wrote. I wanted to believe it was genuine, but the timing made me wonder. Did seeing John put her in such a good mood that she suddenly felt sorry? Or was it guilt? It's the late-night shifts that really get to me. She works until 11 p.m. sometimes, just her and John in the store. I've told myself 100 times that there's nothing inherently wrong with that. They're coworkers. They're adults. But my gut won't let it go. I picture them there, talking and laughing, the store quiet and empty, and I wonder, what are they talking about? Is it work? Or is it personal? Does she tell him things about our life, about me? One night, I decided to show up unannounced. I told myself I was just being thoughtful, bringing her dinner since she hadn't eaten before her shift. But really, I wanted to see for myself. When I walked in, there she was, sitting on a stool behind the counter, leaning toward John, laughing at something he said. She didn't notice me at first, but he did. The moment he saw me, he stood up straight, mumbled something, and walked away into the back. It was so quick, so deliberate, it made my stomach churn. Why would he leave like that? "Oh, I was just talking about you to him," my wife said, her voice a little too bright, a little too cheerful. I forced a smile, handed her the food, and left. But the whole drive home, my mind was racing. If there was nothing going on, why did John leave so quickly? Why did she look so startled when she finally noticed me standing there? I tried to talk to her about it that night. I told her it made me uncomfortable, how close she seemed to be with John. I reminded her how upset she'd been when I talked to a female coworker once, even though it was strictly about work. "It's different," she said, brushing me off. "You don't trust me? Fine. I'll quit my job if it makes you happy." Her response threw me. I wasn't asking her to quit, I just wanted her to set some boundaries. But the way she said it, so defensive, almost angry, made me feel like I was the one in the wrong. And yet, the idea of her quitting didn't comfort me. If she was willing to leave so easily, was it because she felt guilty? Or was she just saying it to shut me up? The doubt started creeping into every corner of my mind. I started noticing how she'd leave her phone face down on the table, how she'd get a little too defensive if I asked who she was texting. I wondered if she was deleting messages, if she was hiding something. But every time I thought about checking her phone, I stopped myself. What if I found something I couldn't unsee? And worse, what if I didn't find anything at all and ruined the trust between us for nothing? Lately, I've been paying attention to the smaller things. Like how she doesn't wear her wedding ring to work some days. When I asked her about it, she said it was because she didn't want to lose it at the store. But she wore it every day before she started this job. What changed? I've noticed other changes, too. She's still affectionate with me, but it feels different, like there's a distance she's trying to close without fully succeeding. It's subtle, but I feel it. The other night, she kissed me goodbye before her shift, and for a split second, I thought I caught a hint of hesitation. Or maybe I'm just imagining it now, seeing signs where there aren't any because my mind won't let me rest. The hardest part is the not knowing. I go back and forth, convincing myself 1 minute that it's all in my head and the next that the signs are too obvious to ignore. I think about how John left so quickly when I showed up at the store, how she always seems to be in a better mood after seeing him. I think about the way she talks about him, or doesn't anymore. I wonder if she's taken off her ring, not just because she's afraid of losing it, but because she doesn't want him to see it. And then I think about how much I love her, how much I want to trust her. What if I'm wrong? What if my insecurities are what's pushing us apart? But what if I'm not wrong? What if she's already halfway out the door and I'm just the last to know? Every time she comes home from work, I watch her closely, looking for clues I don't even know how to interpret. And every time, I end up in the same place, lost in my own mind, unsure of what's real and what's just my fears talking. Have you ever been in a situation like this? What would you do? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this kind of content and want to hear more real-life stories, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Your support means so much to me. Thank you.